so we have seen Hitler do a number of different things to first of all grab hold of power and then to consolidate his grip on it. And the Night of the Long Knives, which happened in June of 1934, a lot of historians will see this as the final step in that. So when we look at this, we're going to see, first of all, Hitler's goals, and this isn't his goals to do with this particular event, but what Hitler was trying to achieve. The issue of military support, which we've already talked a little bit about already. Why the SA was a problem. Again, we've discussed issues to do with the SA. Hitler then faces a dilemma, okay, between getting the support of the army and maintaining the support of the SA. And this brings him into conflict with a man who'd been a very close supporter and, I suppose you'd say, friend, Ernst Röhm, because he was the leader of the SA. Ultimately, the solution that Hitler adopts is codenamed Operation Hummingbird, but becomes known as the Night of the Long Knives, which I think has some pretty good imagery in it. And then we'll look at, well, what happened during that, how people reacted, and what the significance was. And that then really leads to the very last step, which is how Hitler becomes Führer, Supreme Leader of Germany. Okay? So, Hitler's goals. He knew, as we all know, Hindenburg at this stage is extremely old and could possibly die at any time. What Hitler would like to be able to do when Hindenburg dies is combine the positions of Chancellor and President into one called Führer, which would make him the ultimate ruler of Germany. Okay, so he's got that goal. He also has other goals, you know, making Germany great. What's that going to look like? Well, he'd like to tear up the Treaty of Versailles. Okay, a lot of Germans are going to back him on that. He wants to rearm the military, which will be part of tearing up the Treaty of Versailles, but also about making Germany even stronger than it had been before. And this term we'll be reading a lot about next term, gaining Lebensraum. Okay, and if you look at that, actually sounds like living room. Okay, so it's a German term for living room. Basically saying the German people, first of all ethnic Germans should be in one nation, but second of all, it should be a nation that's big enough to support the Aryan people. So we're going to need more land. Now, he didn't want to do what previous colonists had done and go out and grab land in Africa or Asia or somewhere else. He's like, no, we should just expand in Europe. So he looked to the east and he looked to the west, and he decided that the Eastern people, the Slavic people, were racially inferior, and therefore the best thing to do would be to take land off them. Okay? So if anyone here who has Slavic background will probably find that concept quite offensive. Okay? That was his idea. All right, to do this, he was going to need military support, okay? He needs that for his short-term political survival. If the army don't support you, your government is in all sorts of trouble. All right, if he also wants to be this supreme leader, okay, that gives him an awful lot of power, he needs to have the army on side for that, okay? And as we know, the army was definitely behind Hindenburg, weren't they? He was the old general, so he had a lot of respect. Hitler was a mere corporal, so how is he going to command that respect from the army? All right, his long-term foreign policy goals, if you want to take land off Eastern European countries, you're probably going to have to do that by force, aren't you? You're going to need the army to do it. So again, you need to take the army along with you. Okay, so we've discussed this a little bit so far, why the SA would have provided problems for Hitler. What do we know? Why would the SA have been provided problems for Hitler when he wants the army support? Alexandra.
Because the army didn't like the SA.
Okay, yep, army doesn't like the SA. Why don't they like the SA?
Because they used illegal means to protect people.
Yes, so the army is kind of okay with violence, but it needs to be done in legal, ordered ways, okay? So the SA being a bunch of thugs, that does not appeal to the army at all. Knowing that, it sort of sets up the SA as being a threat to the army, right? It's a second military force within a nation. So if you're the army, you don't like the idea that there's this other group that has this kind of power, okay? So the nature of the SA is a problem. You have about 2 million of them by 1933. That's a big sort of private army. And we've looked at the demographics of them before. They're younger, they're unemployed, and they're from the lower middle class and working class. Now, as far as their politics went, they were more for the socialist aspects of the Nazi platform, okay? So So the Nazi platform did have some socialist ideas in there. When we looked at their platform, things that we saw about, increasing pensions for older people, having sort of some welfare for the poor, that is a very socialist idea. So that the SA wanted to keep that going or to highlight that. Okay, now you can see if you are really for the socialist aspects of the Nazi Party platform, as Hitler's becoming more powerful, he's discarding aspects of that. He's discarding whatever is getting in his way to get to power. He's getting very close with the conservatives. He's getting very close with the industrialists, the rich people. If you've got socialist tendencies, you don't like the fact that Hitler is doing this. You think he's actually going against what he's supposed to have stood for all this time. Okay, so you're going to be quite disillusioned. Okay, so Ernst Röhm and the SA thought that the Nazi revolution wasn't going far enough. It wasn't achieving its ideals. That Hitler was too caught up with this legal revolution and keeping all the rich people on side, keeping the army on side, and he wasn't being true to his beliefs. Okay, so that creates tension within the Nazi Party. Okay, the SA also thought, and probably not particularly unfairly, they'd done a lot of the grunt work to get the Nazi Party where they were. Well, where's their reward for that? They should be treated well as a result of that. Röhm, you can see where he's coming from here, thinks that it should be the SA and not the regular army as the main military force in Germany. So he thinks the SA should be above the army. All right, what's the army going to think of that? Yeah. You want to walk around? Yep. And he didn't want the SA to become basically propaganda. So, an image of militarism that you just trot out for parades and things like that. As well as that, the SA, by this stage we did have Dachau, that concentration camp set up, but that was set up by the SS. But the SA were running unofficial concentration camps. So they were hiding people in cellars, beating them, torturing them, all of that kind of stuff. Okay. So again, a lot of conservatives might understand the need for a concentration camp where you put political prisoners like communists, but what they don't want is other political prisoners being in cellars and being tortured there. They were also running protection rackets. Anyone know what a protection racket is? It's a classic mafia technique. Anyone heard of it? It is, you go around to local businesses and you say, I'm going to protect you from having your windows broken tonight. You're going to have to pay me for that though.
Oh.
And in that scenario, who's going to be doing the window breaking if you don't pay?
Yes.
Yeah. So the SA will come around and say, you want your windows to not get broken? You pay me the insurance policy. If you don't pay me, obviously I'm going to break your windows. Okay, that's what mafia do. Okay, so it is totally against the law. And it's also then sort of setting themselves up in a position of power which is above the law.
So did Hitler like them, but he was also having trouble like that?
Yeah, he really liked them initially because at the beginning, when the Nazis were a small political force, the idea of having these guys who were trained thugs who go out and beat up your enemies is all pretty good. But in a way, they became too big for their boots. And now Hitler's got a problem where Hitler wants to look legitimate and he needs the army and these powerful people on side, and they're like, but you've got 2 million thugs who are going around and doing this kind of stuff. And so Hitler's then like, well, these thugs are actually a significant part of my support base on the one hand, but if I want to have real power on the other hand, I can't ignore these other groups of power. So it puts him in a difficult position. Okay, so I think you can probably work out why the army disliked the SA. And, well, Sarah's not here, so I can say Blomberg, was worried about the SA acting in the demilitarised zone. Yeah, she'll hear that on the recording. Yeah, she will.
Special shout out.
Yeah, shout out to Zara. All right, so there was also this issue of the revolution from above and below. Hitler wanted to control the way things were changed, and the SA were the power from below who were trying to upend the system. Okay, so Hitler, in July of 1933, is trying to say we can't have a permanent revolution the stream of revolution must be guided into the safe channel of evolution. Like, we're going to do things slowly, okay? So when he's saying that, it's really demanding that the Nazi Party accept that you have to compromise to have power, and that really change has to come from above. Given what I've told you about the SA, how would you expect them to react to that speech? Not well. You're not going to be like, oh, okay, we totally see where you're coming from, okay? And I'll leave it to you to have a look at then exactly what the SA did do, okay? This puts Hitler in a dilemma. He's got the SA on one side, he's got his need for army and conservative support on the other. Yes?
This is a bit off topic, but what's the difference between SA and SS?
Okay, good question. So the SA was the original group, the stormtroopers, and they were set up as like a paramilitary wing of the Nazi Party. And their primary focus was to come to Nazi Party meetings, if communists turn up, beat them up, okay? The SS was initially, they were established later, and they were initially established as a small group who was supposed to be just Hitler's personal bodyguard, okay? But as time moved on, the kind of people who were drafted into the SS tended to be more educated, better trained, so they became this sort of elite group. And with people like Himmler in charge, he expanded their power, okay? As we'll see, the SS plays a very significant role all the way through Nazi Germany. They were, because they were highly trained, they were SS groups within the German army in World War II, so they were fighting, but you could be in a regular German army unit or you could be in an SS unit. They were also put in charge of the concentration camps, and they were also in charge, it's called the Death's Head group, and they were originally mobile killing squads. So the beginning of the final solution was about rounding Jewish people up and shooting them in the back of the head. As they discovered over time, these people in the SS were actually losing their minds, because there's only so many people you can shoot in the back of the head before you lose your own mind. So that's when they then moved into the system of gas chambers and that kind of thing. So the SS becomes extremely powerful, and at this point what we see is the SS is becoming more powerful, the SA is becoming less powerful over time. So if you're the leader of the SA, are you happy about this? No. So you're going to try to grip onto whatever power you've got.
Can I just,
Yep.
sorry. So you know how you said like the SA was just like Hitler's personal bodyguards?
So the SS initially were.
Oh, okay.
The SA were this kind of paramilitary wing of the party.
So how did they expand to 2 million people?
So as the party got bigger, more and more people were allowed to join, and the idea, it was great to have, before they took power, it was great to have this massive band of thugs who would beat enemies into submission. Once you actually have power, it becomes a different story. Okay? And then it becomes harder for Hitler to control them. So this then sets Hitler up against his old mate, Ernst Röhm. Ernst Röhm he sees himself as quite a powerful individual who's helped to put Hitler where he is, and thinks Hitler should show him some respect because of that. And he did have, he's got a 2 million men who are very loyal to him. He's got significant power. He can pose a challenge to Hitler. So I want you to have a look at what evidence there was and the kind of things Röhm starts saying about Hitler. He becomes quite critical of him and vocal in his criticism of what Hitler's up to. Okay, so Hitler knows he's got his old friend, his old ally, is now really a threat to him. What do you do?
Killing him.
Well, ultimately, yes, that is what you do. But he didn't go there immediately. So step one, Hitler did try to appease Röhm. So this is where he's trying to balance these two things. So the SA on one side, army on the other side. He brings Röhm into the cabinet, so he gives him a special position. He calls meetings with him and with the army and the SS to try to, let's sit down and work out who's going to have what role within the Nazi state. Neither of these things worked, okay? So on one hand, Hitler is trying in a way to resolve this situation. By April of 1934, Hitler then strikes a deal with the army. Now, the army is going to give him what he wants, that they'll acknowledge him upon Hindenburg's death as being the total leader, but what they want is you need to suppress Röhm and the SA, okay? And the army wants to know that they are the sole bearer of arms in the Reich. What does that mean? Sole bearer of arms in the Reich.
The main army.
Yeah, they don't want anyone else to be walking around saying, "Oh, we're a paramilitary wing." They want them gone. Okay, what's this going to mean for the? What does this deal mean for the SA then? Yeah, they're gone. Basically, they're going to be gone. Okay, so from Hitler's point of view, he's like, "Well, I tried to resolve this through discussion. That hasn't worked. There's something I need. The army's going to give me that. They've asked for something in return. I'm going to have to give them that." Okay. Hitler's prompted into action when he has meetings, when he discovers that Röhm and Schleicher, remember Schleicher, who likes to just get in there and make trouble, may be discussing a coup against Hitler. Okay, so Hitler's like, "I've got to act now." Hitler, after hearing about this, meets with Hindenburg and Blomberg, and Hindenburg says, unless you figure this out and you sort it out, Hindenburg's going to declare martial law and hand the government over to the army. Do we know what martial law means? It means, yeah, so it's the military will be in charge, and he's going to hand over the government to the army. All right, and you'd have to think if you were Hitler, you would have to accept that as a real threat. Okay, Hindenburg's a military man. He would love to put the military in charge. So I want you to have a think about it, but Hitler's options at this point, he's really going to have to do something about the SA. So his solution is Operation Hummingbird. And he gets Goering and Himmler, so Himmler being in charge of the SS, to be the chief architects of it. The army keeps its hands clean. They're not aware, they're not involved, but they did know it was going to happen because the lead general of the Reichswehr, on when it was going to happen, placed the army on alert and also ordered all troops confined to barracks. Okay, what does that mean if you confine your troops to barracks? Yes, so it's kind of like you're not going to go out there. Whatever violence is happening out in the streets tonight, it's got nothing to do with you. Okay, so the troops are all basically tucked up in bed when this happens. 30th of June. Okay, Hitler yeah, sorry?
How big is the German army?
It would still be relatively small. It was still within the Treaty of Versailles limits because, as we'll see, it's one of the things Hitler does not long after this is suddenly make the German army much bigger.
So like 100,000?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, so is that why Hitler wanted to latch onto the SA so much because there was 2 million of them just 100,000?
Well, 2 million SA, but they're, poorly trained thugs versus 100,000 very well-trained soldiers. So we access to, proper weaponry. So still the army would be able to outweigh the SS, but you can see why the army saw them as such a threat. Yeah, Abby.
You know how he was like, this is a bit further back, but like abolished, making all the other political parties like dissolve them all.
Yeah.
How come like Hindenburg wasn't saying?
Well, Hindenburg's an authoritarian, so he didn't really have too much of a problem with that. What Hindenburg's main problem was the lack of discipline. Okay, the real threat to stability of having the SA, this possibility of an SA coup, that Ernst Röhm could be suddenly running the country, and that Hindenburg would have kicked out if that was the case. Yeah, Maria.
This is like random, but at what point did On happen just get out of this situation?
Very late in the game, as we'll see, he was very lucky to escape with his life after this, and I think. Yeah, he was around because actually I think there's a bit where I mentioned him. I just kind of skipped over it. It was back up here. Where was it?
He's obviously
Yeah. So, yeah, Papen was kind of considering, maybe we've made a mistake here. Maybe we should take back power. Now, he was at least smart enough to not get as deep into the plotting as Schleicher did, but I'm pretty sure it's after this is when Papen has to escape. But Schleicher doesn't make it out of this. Yeah. Okay, so it's personal between Hitler and Röhm at this point. So Hitler orders his arrest, and when we watch Hitler: The Rise of Evil, one of the things when Röhm is arrested, he's given a gun and sort of told, well, you could shoot, do yourself a favour and you can shoot yourself. but Rome refuses to do that. So he's executed by the SS, and there's also other leaders of the SA who were murdered as well. Whilst they were at it, I mean, why not murder anyone else who's causing you trouble? So it's a good opportunity to get rid of communists, Jews, other politicians, trade unions, whoever, right? So it's a pretty long list. Schleicher's gone. Gustav von Kahr will come back to when we watch Hitler Rise of Evil. Fritz Gerlich as well. He was a journalist who was critical. Gregor Strasser was also, yes, but he was a Nazi who, remember, he was the one who tried to split yes, so obviously he's on the list. So there's a bunch of people, and here we go. Papin's associate who'd written a speech criticising Hitler, he was done, but Papin did not make the list. So Papin was very lucky. Now, so Hitler admitted to 70 deaths, but we'll never know, but we think it's probably closer to 200 to 400. A lot of people died. Okay, this of course cannot be covered up. Everyone in Germany is going to know about it. So, how do you justify it? Well, Hitler makes a speech to the Reichstag, which I'm going to get you to read and decide, do you find that convincing? He also, as part of his justification, passes a law called the Law Concerning Measures Taken in the Defence of the State. So, the Reich government, i.e. Hitler, has resolved to pass the following law, only article, all measures that were taken to crush the treasonable aggression of 30 June 1934 were acts of defence of the state and therefore legally justified. Okay, so basically it's totally cool to kill all those people. So you want to think, what are the implications of Hitler's justification and this law for Germany? If you're a regular German at this point, you know, how does this kind of event change the system under which you're living? Okay. Also interesting is the way Hindenburg reacts to this. Okay, so he sends a telegram. Blomberg also makes a statement. The cabinet thanks Hitler for his actions. All right? You want to think, are they really thankful, or are they maybe really, really scared? Yeah. And the reaction of the general public is largely approving. Now, again, we wonder, were they really putting a poll in the field to figure out how much people liked it, or are people really probably more scared than anything else? Okay, results of this. So the army got what it wanted, so they were happy to align themselves behind the Nazis, and they got rid of their big enemy, the SA. Papin, who tried to stop this happening, had failed, so he's a spent force now. This really, so we had the SS was increasing their power over the SA. Now the SA is pretty much gone. The SS is now the elite institution of terror, and the SA ceases to have any real force whatsoever. Well, they could still be called the SA, but they became exactly what Rome had feared, a propaganda showpiece. If we're going to have, like, at a Nuremberg rally, let's trot them all out, put on your brown shirts and your swastikas, and it will all look like we've got this military presence, but you're not going to do anything. Yeah. So, winners and losers from the Night of the Long Knives. Who thinks the big losers here? Yeah. Anyone who was on the hit list. So, Rome, I'd say you can put him at the top, pretty much anyone in the SA. You can also see how this was just used as an excuse to round up other enemies as well, and other vendettas that Hitler had. Who wins out of this? Hitler? Yeah, the SS and the army. Okay. This also showed this was a brutal regime. Okay. It showed Hitler was willing to do whatever it took. Okay. A.J.P. Taylor, with his characteristic turn of phrase, describes it as a bloodbath that washes away the last scruples. It was a clear assertion that there was no turning back. So, like I've asked with every other bit, you want to think, how does this assist Hitler to consolidate his power? Okay. Can you really dislodge him as dictator after this? It's pretty difficult. Okay, the very last bit, Hitler as Führer. So you can see, in a way, Hitler gets this done in the nick of time because it's only a month later that Hindenburg dies. Waveley.
It's kind of But with the terms of the Treaty of Versailles, did he still have to follow it, like with the size of the army and stuff? Did he kind of like not?
Hitler,
Yeah.
well, technically yes, he was bound by the treaty, but as we'll see, he did go about tearing it up. But when we look at that, and that's in terms of his foreign policy, again, it raises the idea of, is he a man with a plan, like I want to tear up the Treaty of Versailles, or is he an opportunist? Because it's not like he, as soon as he becomes Führer, right, that's it, tearing up the Treaty of Versailles. He kind of knows he can't do it. So we'll see he does certain things at certain times when opportunities present themselves. So he picks the best time to announce that, oh, I'm building up the army again. He picks the best time to announce, I'm remilitarising the Rhineland, I'm putting troops up to the French border, and makes it difficult for other nations like France and Britain to actually confront him about it. Okay. So once Hindenburg has died, Hitler does what he said he was going to do. He becomes Führer, right? And he'd had that all organised and ready to go. So at this point, then the army takes an oath of allegiance to Hitler personally, and that's really key. Because our army does not take an oath of allegiance to our Prime Minister, right? Their loyalty is to our nation. He also, again, for a dictator, he does love to get people's opinions on things, so he has a plebiscite. Now, does anyone know what this word means, plebiscite? Abby?
Isn't it when you have to have a yes or no vote, but and the government takes it into consideration, but they don't actually have to apply it?
Yeah, so unlike a referendum, which has a binding consequence, a plebiscite doesn't have to. You may have heard that term used in relation to the gay marriage debate in this country. There was a suggestion, it doesn't look like it's going to happen, that we could have had a plebiscite, and that would have mean everyone over 18 could vote yes or no, do they like the idea of it, but that wouldn't then force the federal government to go through with it if the majority say yes. It's kind of like a national formal poll in a way. So Hitler becomes Führer and he decides to put that to a plebiscite, okay? Before the vote, this is, he gets Oskar von Hindenburg, General Hindenburg's son, to broadcast in support, okay? I'm acting on my father's wishes when I call on all German men and women to vote for handing over my father's office to the Führer, okay? Now, turnout, again, is really high, but I think it's interesting that, not everyone voted yes to this, and it's a lower vote than the previous two votes we looked at. You have 4.5 million people in Germany voting no. And additionally, you had 870,000 people vote informally. Now, sometimes people vote informally because they make a mistake on their ballot paper, but in terms of a plebiscite where you're asked to vote yes or no, it's actually pretty hard to make a mistake, okay? Like, when I vote for the Senate here and I have a piece of paper that I cannot fit into my ballot box, right, you can see how I could easily make a mistake even though I'm trying to vote properly, okay? Some people definitely don't try to vote properly. They do little pictures or they, write some rude comments. So I would think that the vast majority of those 870,000 who voted informally did so on purpose. Yeah.
What was the point of having a plebiscite? There was no, was it just for self-assurance? Because he was going to do it anyway. Why did he do it?
Perhaps, and it's a way of saying, well, this definitely is what everyone wants, and I suppose it makes it difficult for anyone to say no, but it was clearly almost impossible for anyone to say no anyway. Yeah. All right. So what we're going to do, and this I think we'll do in the first lesson when we get back. We're going to do those big picture things. So also, first of all, about accession, and then also this. So all those events that we've talked about under consolidation, we're going to rank them. What was most important, what made the most difference, and also then what was least important, what made the least difference. And we'll then create a graph. So 1933 to 1934, the rise of power of Hitler. So how it went up to almost absolute power. Okay?
So do we need to do the success bit?
I think you need to have a look. So when we come back first lesson, if I ask you, you'll be able to get straight to it. Okay, so that's where I'm going to leave it and hand over to you guys.
Is that our home?
Finishing all of this? Yeah.